Bonjour, bienvenue, merci de nous rejoindre en salle de presse pour notre briefing de presse quotidien virtuel. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le lundi 15 juin. Nous allons commencer comme chaque jour avec les annonces et j'appelle en premier lieu Sonia qui a une annonce sur la nouvelle plateforme que nous lançons aujourd'hui dans le contexte de la réouverture des frontières. Sonia.
Merci. Good afternoon. Today, the Commission is launching Reopen EU website as announced in the Tourism and Transport package adopted by the Commission on 30th of May. Reopen EU is a web platform to support a safe relaunch of traveling and tourism activities across the European Union. It provides real-time information to allow travelers to take responsible decisions on how to manage continuing risks related to coronavirus while planning their travels and holidays during the summer and beyond. Reopen EU offers practical information provided by each member state to the Commission on travel restrictions, public health and safety measures such as physical distancing, wearing of masks, as well as other useful information on EU and national tourism activities. This platform is available in all EU languages. Now we would like to perform a little demonstration. So first, you need to select your destination. We can, for example, go for Bulgaria. Then, if you click on information, on the right-hand side, very useful window is appearing, which provides you with an overview of the main information that you need in order to travel safely in this country. Then the information concretely, it's about the coronavirus situation at national level, about travel and means of transport available in the country with schedules and other practical information. Then you have tourism services and related protocols which are applicable to the different accommodations, hospitality establishments. And lastly, you have information on health situation at national level, as well as general safety protocols which are applicable in Bulgaria. This information is provided respectively every member state, which is included in the platform. Then also, before traveling, we encourage citizens to check the latest information. The website will be regularly updated based on info which is provided to us by the member states. We hope that you enjoy it and will travel safely as recommended. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. We hope you enjoy the app or the website, but also that you enjoy the travel through Europe. Maintenant, comme d'habitude, je vous donne un aperçu de ce qui se passe de l'autre côté de la rue aujourd'hui au Conseil. La commissaire à l'énergie, Kadri Simpson, représente la Commission au Conseil informel des ministres de l'énergie qui se tient ce matin via vidéoconférence. La conférence de presse avec la commissaire et la présidence croate du Conseil est prévue en début d'après-midi. Vous pouvez consulter EBS pour plus d'informations. Puis, les ministres du Conseil des Affaires étrangères tiendront une vidéoconférence aujourd'hui. À l'ordre du jour, les relations transatlantiques et les grandes questions de politique étrangère avec la participation du secrétaire d'État américain Mike Pompeo. Comme d'habitude, le Conseil sera suivi par une conférence de presse prévue pour 17 h. Nous vous invitons donc à garder vos questions sur les affaires extérieures pour le haut représentant Josep Borrell pendant cette conférence de presse. Enfin, la commissaire Elisa Ferreira participe à la vidéoconférence informelle des ministres européens en charge de la politique de cohésion. Ils tiendront un débat d'orientation sur la politique de cohésion en tant qu'élément constitutif de la relance de l'Union européenne après la pandémie. Pour rappel, dans la proposition de la Commission pour un plan de relance et le prochain budget à long terme, la politique de cohésion a en effet été renforcée de manière significative avec le développement de React EU et le renforcement du fonds de transition juste. une conférence de presse en ligne avec la commissaire Elisa Ferreira et le ministre croate en charge du développement régional et des fonds de l'Union européenne, Marko Pavic, aura lieu à 12h30 et pourra être suivie sur EBS. Voilà qui nous amène à la fin de nos annonces et nous pouvons passer à vos questions. Thomas.
Oui, c'est sympa votre site internet. Je vois juste que la Suisse n'est pas dedans. Je me demandais si par hasard il y a des plans pour l'étendre aux pays associés Schengen, ou s'ils ont refusé de participer, je ne sais pas. Merci.
Sonia me fait signe de la tête que pas pour le moment. Nous n'avons pas d'informations sur une extension prévue. Voilà, y a-t-il d'autres questions? Je ne vois qu'une seule main levée, donc je passe la parole à Mose.
Hello, thank you, Eric. Yes, I would also like to ask a question concerning, this new travel platform and also, let's say, lifting of travel restrictions that was announced last week by the Commission with its recommendations. And I would like to ask to what extent, that lifting, opening of borders have been coordinated by the Commission that perhaps was foreseen in the announcement last week. I noticed, for example, that Belgium today announced that it has opened its borders to its neighboring countries, but also to Sweden, for example, while the other Scandinavian countries have not opened its borders to Sweden. To what extent has the Commission been involved in any kind of coordination of opening the borders?
Thank you, Mose. I think the answer has been given in this press room around a zillion times. We have been involved to the extent possible, as much as we could, in the context of the powers that are ours, the prerogatives that are ours in this context. So there's really nothing more to add on this issue than what we have already discussed time and time again here in the press room. Okay, I don't know if there are other questions related to the app or to the website, rather, at this stage. I would ask you to keep your hand raised only if it's related to this for the moment. We will come back. Athanasios.
Thank you, Eric. I'm trying the web-based application, and I'm choosing Greece, and I see a general text about the restrictions that are applied, but I don't see airport-specific information. And I will give you an example. I don't know if there is airport-specific information. I just didn't find it, but I'll give you an example. If I take my favorite airline and go from Vienna to Athens, I will not be checked because Greece says that Austria is one of the A group countries where you don't need to check passengers for COVID-19. If I take the same airline and I travel from Vienna to Thessaloniki, my city, I will be checked because the airport of Thessaloniki performs checks on all individual passengers, no matter where they come from. So I was wondering, are you going to incorporate inside stamp states this kind of information in the application, which is actually pretty useful, or not?
Sonia, do we have an answer to that question on airport-specific related information? Let me just remind you in any case that we are dependent on the member states for the information that we can put on the website. Obviously, they have to make this information available. Sonia.
Yes, I confirm. In the demonstration that we have made, there is one section on transport and travel. So you have different icons related to the means of transport. By car, if you travel by car, what are the conditions? Then if you travel by train, and also there is an icon if you travel by plane. And normally available information should be displayed there. But as Eric has underlined, all the information that is put on the website comes from member states. So we can put only that information that has been verified and notified to us by the member states. But normally the idea is to have as complete as possible information.
So as usual with all these web-based applications, I think that user feedback is extremely useful, and we would encourage you to provide us and your member state with your views and comments in order to ensure that the website can be improved as much as possible. Thank you. Louise.
Yes, hello, thank you. A related question. We're seeing that a lot of countries are starting to opening borders today and beginning to allow tourism, but a country like Denmark still maintains border control and quite strict measures preventing both travel in and out of the country. So how long would you consider that the temporary border control would be justified in this case? I mean, if Denmark maintains during the whole summer until August 31st, would you start to ask for more arguments, justification? What would be the procedure in that case? Thanks.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Louise. I think that is a question for Adalbert.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So I cannot tell you what we would do in this or that specific scenario about what will happen in the future. We've put out guidelines and other types of communication about the approach that we believe member states should be taking while lifting restrictions at internal borders. The epidemiological criterion is an extremely important criterion in this respect, and of course everything will depend on the evolution of the epidemiological situation. It is also possible that we lift restrictions, but then if the epidemiological situation worsens, we may have to go back. So it's very difficult for me to say something about the future. Right now, the situation is that we have called upon member states to lift restrictions by today, and most member states have done so. And we are now working, we continue to work with member states in order to coordinate further lifting of the restrictions. And of course, discussions are also ongoing about the travel restrictions at external borders, noting that we, as we have said in the roadmap towards lifting COVID-related restrictions, we believe that internal border controls should be lifted first, and external border controls or the travel restrictions at external borders at the second stage. Thank you.
Quick follow-up, if I may.
Please.
Are you wondering why Denmark seems to have such different arguments than all the other countries? I mean, why is it that everyone else seems to think that it's fine to open now, and in Denmark we have only opened for Norway, Iceland, and Germany? Have you already asked the Danish government for arguments, data, justifications for this decision? Thanks.
Adalbert?
Yes, of course, we remain in very close contact with all the member states, and we have very regular coordination meetings where we discuss all of these different aspects. I would maybe just underline that it is the member states' responsibility to make the evaluation of the epidemiological situation and to apply the other criteria that we have suggested in our recommendations, and we as Commission cannot substitute ourselves to this evaluation. So as a result, there is indeed a number of different approaches among member states to these issues. However, as I said, our approach as the Commission has been to try to coordinate and to provide member states with guidance and recommendations in this respect.
All right, let's see if there are other questions. I see two hands raised. Nick, floor is yours on this issue. You're no longer on my list. You need to press speak, as the saying goes.
Does that work? Brilliant. Right, that's not working now. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, just on the map, I noticed on the travel advice, it says if you're travelling from an EU country or Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein and Iceland, I was just wondering if it could be explained why the UK isn't on there as, you know, at the start of this process. I think President von der Leyen said, you know, the UK would be treated sort of like sort of member states and Schengen states. And there's also been some talk in the UK about potentially doing a sort of, you know, air bridge or travel corridor, whatever you'd like to call it, agreement with the whole EU 27. I know that this is a member state competence, but I just wondered if the UK had been in touch with the Commission on that at all as a coordinator. Thanks.
So do we have a response to give as to why the UK is not on the map?
I believe that the information that we have included is the one provided by member states, and this leads me to conclude that no information has been provided by the UK. The information was based on questionnaires, and I don't believe that we have received information from the UK.
We sent it. Have we sent the information to the UK? I think the questions to the UK is something we will clarify. And follow up on. But clearly, as you said yourself, this is, you know, something which is related to the member states. This is the Schengen area, and the United Kingdom is neither a member state nor a member of Schengen. On the travel corridors, sorry, I think on the travel corridors, that would be also for Adalbert again. I think.
I am not.
Or Stefan.
Yes, I would suggest that if possible.
Okay, Stefan. Any information that you have on contacts between the UK and us on travel corridors?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. At this stage, no, I don't think I can add a lot of information on this. What has been said already obviously applies in the context of assuring transport between the member states. We have to take into account, obviously, the epidemiological criteria to which Adalbert has referred just a few moments ago, but I don't think there is anything further to add at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much, Stéphane. Let's move to Stéphane Israël. Other Stéphane. Stéphane, bonjour.
Oui, bonjour. C'est un follow-up en fait. Si j'ai bien compris, la stratégie ou l'idée c'était d'ouvrir les frontières extérieures à partir du 1er juillet. Mais si pas tous les pays membres ou tous les pays Schengen suivent la recommandation d'enlever les contrôles aux frontières intérieures, est-ce que ce sera toujours possible d'ouvrir à l'extérieur? Et je ne sais pas si la question a été posée, pourquoi cette application n'est pas pour l'espace Schengen, mais seulement pour les pays membres de l'UE? Merci.
Ok, sur la première partie de la question, je repasse la parole à Adalbert.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, du point de vue strictement légal ou juridique, il est évidemment possible de lever la restriction temporaire avant que les contrôles aux frontières internes soient pleinement levés. Ceci dit, comme nous avons fait des recommandations la semaine dernière qui expliquent exactement. Pardon, j'ai été coupé. Donc nous avons adopté des recommandations la semaine dernière qui expliquent exactement quelle stratégie nous comptons adopter pour cette question. Et je pense que ce qui est utile de voir, c'est que la levée de la restriction temporaire aux frontières extérieures se fera aussi de manière progressive. De la même manière que la levée des contrôles aux frontières internes continue à être levée progressivement. Et donc, il est totalement possible qu'au-delà du 1er juillet, nous aurons les restrictions aux frontières externes seront levées en partie, suivant les recommandations de la Commission. Et il est aussi juridiquement possible que certains contrôles aux frontières internes persistent selon les évaluations des États membres.
Ok. Go ahead.
Concernant ta deuxième question, en fait, la plateforme, c'est un résultat, c'est un délivrable du paquet tourisme et transport. Et le champ d'application de ce paquet est limité et aussi se focalise sur les États membres. Et c'est pour ça aussi la plateforme électronique se focalise que sur les États membres.
Good. To come back to Nick's previous question on the UK, let me specify what the situation is. As Sonia was saying, we are open to the participation by third countries, provided that they understand, provided first of all that they make the request, and secondly that they commit to providing updated and regular information to the website. Now, this applies, for example, to Switzerland and to Norway, who have made the request to participate. So we will look into this. But the UK has not made such a request to participate. Okay. I believe we have exhausted this issue now, so let us move on to other subjects. Are there further questions for us today? Stéphane. Stéphane? Non? Alors, je ne vois plus...
Tu m'entends?
Oui, voilà, vas-y.
Oui, j'ai une question concernant une initiative de 6 pays membres et la Suisse qui demande une activité plus renforcée de la Commission pour une politique hydrogénique, je pense, on dit énergie d'hydrogène. Je crois que c'était aussi en vue de la réunion des ministres d'énergie aujourd'hui qui se tient actuellement. Est-ce que vous avez une réponse par rapport à cette initiative? Merci.
Alors, je vais appeler Tim, mais il faut savoir qu'il y a une conférence de presse cet après-midi, et donc c'est surtout là qu'il faudra que tu poses tes questions.
Oui, exactement. Merci pour l'invitation à parler sur ce sujet. Oui, je vais tout simplement dire que c'est quelque chose qu'on a lu dans la presse, et j'imagine que la commissaire en a parlé ce matin au Conseil énergie. Elle va peut-être en parler lors de la conférence de presse. Comme vous savez, on a déjà annoncé qu'il y a une stratégie hydrogène qui va venir dans les semaines à venir.
Merci. Okay, let us move on to other issues then. Susanna.
Good morning. I have a question related to this boat with the 22 migrants coming from Morocco. I would like, it reached the Portuguese coast in the southern part of the country, Algarve. I would like to know if the Commission is aware of this, and since this is already the fourth boat arriving with migrants inside, if you are aware of any kind of route to Portugal. Thank you. Illegal, I mean.
Okay, thanks. I think this is again a question for Adalbert.
Indeed, it is. Hello, Susanna. And yes, we are indeed aware of these reports. This said, I do not have any specific comment about this at this stage. Of course, we follow very closely the migratory situation at our external borders, together with Frontex, the European Border and Coast Guard Agency. But I do not know what further comment I could have about a boat with 22 people arriving in Portugal at the moment.
Thank you. Let me now move to Lorenzo. Lorenzo, tu as la parole. Lorenzo, I'm not sure you can hear us from what I'm told. So if you hear us, Please try to sort your technical issue. Go ahead, press speak and try again. Okay, it's not working, so let's move in the meantime to Tommaso, and we'll try to come back to Lorenzo afterwards. Tommaso, you have the floor. You have the floor.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the floor. It's just a question on the Spanish newspaper ABC wrote that the Venezuela government financed with the 3.5 million euro the Five Stars movement back in 2010, and EPP Vice President Antonio Tajani made an interrogation to the Commission asking what the Commission is doing to verify if foreign powers financed national European parties. And I wonder if the Commission has anything to say about that. Tajani mentioned in particular High Representative Josep Borrell. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, Tommaso. In which form did? Sorry.
Which form?
Sorry. You need to switch off your mic, or else I get feedback. In which form did Mr. Tajani contact the Commission? Was it a letter? Because in that case, we will answer by letter to him. But I'm not aware of this request from Mr. Tajani. Can you tell us a bit more?
It is an interrogation from the Parliament.
Question. In which case, we will provide the answer to the parliamentary question, and you will get the information at that point in time. But we cannot start answering parliamentary questions here in the press room before we have provided the answer. If we have already provided the answer, I'm not yet aware of it, we will of course tell you immediately. Thank you. Now, I would like to try Lorenzo again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's working.
Hello, good morning. I was wondering what's happening to the meeting between President von der Leyen and President Sassoli and President Michel and Prime Minister Boris Johnson, because I've not seen any announcement. And I mean, is that taking place? And what are the press arrangements? How can we know about what happened there and what kind of discussion there was? Thank you. Was there?
Yes, thank you for the question. Indeed, the meeting will take place. It's scheduled for this afternoon at 2:30 by video conference. There is no press conference planned. We will inform you about the results of the meeting and the publication of any statement after the meeting has concluded. Okay, thank you. I now go to David. David Hasenhorn.
Hi, Eric. Good afternoon. Thanks so much, David Herzenhorn with Politico. I just wonder about a different meeting that President von der Leyen had anticipated with United States President Donald Trump. And given that the Secretary of State is meeting by video conference today with foreign affairs ministers of the EU, I wonder, has she sort of given up, given coronavirus and all the other issues, on the possibility of traveling to Washington? Do we think that trip will ever happen before the U.S. presidential election this year? And if you have any other general remarks on the state of EU-U.S. relations, of course, we'd be interested as well.
Well, David, on the second part of your question, I don't think I'm going to go here into a long commentary about the state of EU-US relations. I think the importance of the EU-US relationship is well known to all, and the President had the opportunity when she met President Trump in Davos to reiterate the importance of this relationship, and also in particular of the trade relationship. And indeed, in that context, she had expressed the hope that she could travel to Washington and meet President Trump in order to discuss trade-related issues in particular. Now, indeed, events overtook us in the sense that the coronavirus crisis changed the scene somewhat, and that in the meantime we have been obliged to focus obviously on other issues. That is not to say that contacts with our US counterparts have not continued on the trade side, and Daniel can perhaps tell us a bit more on this. At this moment, there is no specific timing foreseen for a next meeting between the United States President and the President of the Commission. But that is not to say that a meeting could not happen before the election. I think we will have to wait and see how things develop. Daniel, do you want perhaps to say one or two words on the EU-US discussions when it comes to trade?
Thank you, Eric. Maybe just to add that indeed this is an ongoing process since the outbreak of the pandemic, and with all this that it entailed in terms of the need to conduct meetings in other formats. We've been in contact with our US counterparts. There were several meetings by video conference, by phone call, at technical level, but also at political level, as Commissioner Hogan had the chance to debrief last week ministers about it. So this is a very much ongoing process. It's work in progress. There is still work to be done. But indeed, the two sides continue actively to engage at different levels to try to reach a positive outcome sooner than later.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's now move to Alain Franco.
Oui, bonjour Eric, bonjour tout le monde. Je suis un peu tombé de ma chaise là en apprenant, parce que j'avais pas fait très attention, mais j'étais persuadé que bien sûr ça viendrait, qu'il n'y a pas de conférence de presse après le meeting avec Boris Johnson. Est-ce que tu pourrais m'expliquer pourquoi, d'où vient cette initiative de ne pas donc tenir de conférence de presse? Est-ce que c'est une demande anglaise ou est-ce que ça vient de chez vous, ou est-ce que vous êtes mis d'accord là-dessus? Merci.
Écoute, ça n'est pas une initiative de ne pas organiser une conférence de presse, ce serait une initiative d'organiser une conférence de presse. Il se trouve que cette réunion à haut niveau entre le Royaume-Uni et l'Union européenne est une réunion par vidéoconférence qui doit simplement faire le point sur les négociations, et les deux parties ont convenu de tenir cette réunion, mais pas nécessairement d'avoir une conférence de presse après. Nous pensons qu'il y aura une déclaration à l'issue de cette réunion, mais il n'y a pas de raison particulière qui explique pourquoi il n'y a pas de conférence de presse. Voilà. Alors, je passe maintenant la parole à Mamer. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you, Eric. Yes, I have another quick question. Hope I have better luck this time. Related to the coronavirus crisis, it is assumed that the virus originated in a so-called wet market, as you know. So there have been the discussions about banning trade in wildlife and animals. And we know that, for example, China has issued a temporary ban on that. So I would like to ask if the Commission has a specific position on that, and whether it is working on internationally on a global permanent ban on wildlife trade. Thank you.
Okay, that would be, I think, a question for Daniel, but we do not have any specific position on that. As you know, and I've had the opportunity of saying this here on the podium, Mamer, We have strict rules when it comes to imports of goods in general, and in particular very strict phytosanitary rules when it comes to the import of agricultural goods and foodstuffs. And these applied before the outbreak of the coronavirus crisis, and they apply since the outbreak of the coronavirus outbreak. But we don't have any specific information on another initiative at this stage that we could pass to you. I would just want to check with Stéphane whether he wants to add something on this.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Eric. You're absolutely right that we have very strict rules, phytosanitary rules. So far, there is no evidence that any of the animals or animal products authorized for entry in the Union from China pose a risk for the health of EU citizens arising from the presence of coronavirus in that country. So that's what I want to add.
Okay, thank you very much, Stéphane. I do not see any other questions for us today. Yes. Oh, I do see new questions now. Thomas.
Oui, j'hésitais un peu parce que c'est les choses qu'on aurait peut-être préféré discuter en off, mais comme c'est un peu compliqué, je vais voir si tu as des choses à nous dire en on. Le ministre des Affaires étrangères suisse a dit pendant le week-end, dans une interview sur la presse suisse, qu'il craint que l'accès au marché de l'Union européenne post-Covid va coûter plus cher à la Suisse et à les autres pays qui ne sont pas dans l'UE, mais qui ont un accès au marché. Alors, c'est frappant parce que jusqu'à présent, je n'ai pas vu de votre côté des plans ou de considérations concernant les pays qui ne sont pas dans l'UE mais qui ont un accès au marché concernant ce que devrait être leur rôle par rapport à la relance post-Covid. Alors, est-ce que tu as des choses à dire là-dessus? Est-ce que vous avez remarqué le débat suisse ou pas du tout?
Thomas, je suis désolé, mais tu avais tout à fait raison. Je n'ai rien à rajouter ou rien à dire pour le moment sur cette question. Donc il faudra que j'étudie plus en détail les déclarations du côté suisse que tu évoques, et on verra si on a des choses à dire sur ce sujet. Mais là, ici, on the record, non, je n'ai rien à rajouter sur ce point.
Ok, merci.
Clara.
Hi, am I loud and clear?
You are loud and clear, Clara. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I was wondering, this weekend, 4 countries announced that they are taking part in a common initiative to buy vaccines for COVID-19 with the Oxford initiative. I was wondering, how does this relate to the Commission initiative to present a plan this week to also buy a common vaccine for the European community? Thank you.
Thank you. I think this point was extensively discussed by Commissioner Kyriakides at her press conference following the Council on Friday. Both initiatives are intimately connected and complementary. As you know, the European Union has presented to the member states its strategy, the main ideas of its strategy, in order to ensure that we can secure the access to sufficient doses of vaccines for European citizens last Friday. And we are cooperating very closely with the 4 member states that you mentioned, but also with the other member states in order to ensure that this happens. A very first contract was signed by these 4 member states. Discussions are ongoing on other possible contracts, which are expected to be able to cover the whole of the European Union. So there are not 2 different approaches, but there is one joined-up approach between the member states that you mentioned and the European Commission. Are there any other questions for us today? It does not seem to be the case, so let me wish you bon appétit and see you tomorrow.